On this week's episode, we share our opinions regarding the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, BOOtista, the WWE Network launch, and was Raw a letdown? All of this and more, now on Byte That. Hello everybody and welcome to the 27th episode of Byte That, the somewhat, maybe international professional wrestling podcast, where we talk about the ups and downs of that which we love, which is the world of professional wrestling. And we want to thank you for tuning in, and remember to follow us on Twitter at ByteThatCast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ByteThatCast, where we are constantly adding new content every week, reviews, show clips, and stay tuned for the WrestleMania overload. And if everything I said is just a little too much for you, head over to ByteThat.com. Remember, that is Byte with a Y. My name is Juan Velascourt. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and as always, I am joined first, all the way from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, by Keith Poshik.
Follow the Bozards.
And following my way over to the second person, all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, we got Ryan McNulty.
Who doesn't afraid of anything.
Who doesn't afraid of anything, including going outside of the chamber. We just went out of the steel structure on Sunday, the final pay-per-view before the launch of the WWE Network. We were pretty hyped before going to the show. We had the Shield taking on the Wyatts. We had 6 people going into the chamber. Some people maybe wanted Cesaro to come out as champion. It was probably unlikely. But coming off the chamber, I want to go right to just your feedback. Was it everything you thought you were gonna get? We were pretty hyped before the show. So was that hype there throughout the whole thing?
I think it lived up to the hype. I think it really did. I thought overall solid pay-per-view. I got pretty much exactly what I expected, which you can't really complain about that. So overall, good show.
Yeah, I agree. It was an amazing show, really. Like, there was matches that I expected just to flop that surprised me. They were pretty good. So I'm going to say I got a little more than I bargained for with that Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
I agree with you 100%, sir. No, we got a really good show. From the very first match, we got Big E, Swagger, we got the Outlaws, we got Titus O'Neil and Daring. We got a pretty nice variety of matches, and they all got a fair amount of time. I know we're not going to go over each and every match, but I do want to talk about the first match, not the pre-show, but the IC Championship match, because I think that was probably the match that people were looking forward to the least.
I'd like to butt in for a second. Speaking of the pre-show, I just like to butt in for a second. Who is that old man in the Christmas sweater? I still haven't figured that out.
I have no idea.
Okay, there was an old man with a Christmas sweater. Was that Larry the Axe Hennig?
Yes. Did you guys not listen?
Oh, no.
It was Larry the Axe Hennig, because they were in Curtis Axel's hometown, so that's why he was there. And believe it or not, there actually was a Curtis Axel chant. It sounded so strange to me to actually hear that chant, because I've never heard it in my life before.
Huh. Well, mystery solved. Moving on.
I didn't watch the pre-show, so I can't comment on that. But I can comment on Big E, who has a sweet ass. But yeah, let's talk about that match right now.
Jesus. Wow. He likes it when you call him Big Papa Juan. He loves it.
Come on,
I like how you just said it and then just tried to keep going like we weren't going to stop you.
No, but really, what do you think of that match?
It was a really solid match. It's been a long time since we saw like a solid performance out of Jack Swagger that I can remember anyway. This is someone that doesn't really watch SmackDown, so maybe he had something great there, but it was a really good match between the two. It was like it was 2 big powerhouses beating the crap out of each other, which happened to be my favorite type of matches. So it was really good. A couple of nice spots. Like, they did some really cool stuff outside of the ring. Big E went for that spear through the ring ropes, which was insane. Yeah, good match.
Yeah, see, I knew there was going to be a match on the card that was unexpectedly good. I just happened to be wrong on which match it was. This was definitely that match. I picked the tag team title match, by the way. Yeah, that IC title match. It was it just kind of unexpectedly was really good. Swagger, every once in a while, I mean, the guy can go, and every once in a while he pulls a really good match out of there. And this is probably Big E's best singles match that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure this has been his best work match since coming to WWE. I know he's probably had some great NXT matches, but definitely his best pay-per-view match. I was really happy with it, and of course, Big E got the win, which I think all of us were expecting.
I was really happy simply because both men came out looking strong, and it goes to show how much maybe they were willing to adapt, or maybe that's the format that they had, because at one point in the match, the people were actually kind of chanting boring. But the moment that spear happened, everything just completely switched. The match didn't stop, and it was two powerhouses, like Keith said. And I think Swagger, it's crazy to think about just how far this guy's fallen, considering he's a former World Heavyweight Champion, Money in the Bank winner. He's got all these things, and even though he's not in a bad spot necessarily, it's crazy to think about how much it's changed.
What we can all take away from this, especially the kids, don't do drugs, kids. You'll end up like Jack Swagger.
Exactly. A real
wrestling
American.
On national TV and all around the world.
Well.
Oh, God. I shouldn't say God, actually, because of the whole Bible thing. No. Okay, let's completely switch right now to another
Bible
match.
Thing.
Hold on,
what are you talking about?
Well, national television. I thought you were talking about Benoit. Remember the whole thing that happened there?
What?
Are you saying Jack Swagger's gonna be the next Chris Benoit? Are those the words that just came out of your mouth?
Evil Knievel couldn't have made the jump you just made.
Okay, sorry for having a very negative mindset towards anything in pro wrestling and national TV. I do want to mention one quick match here that I actually thought I was looking forward to, but then it actually started, then I was like, crap. And that was the match between Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. Now, I'm just going to point out, if the crowd's not giving a shit about your match, you should probably, I don't know, maybe like lessen the rest holds. So like people, I don't know, look forward to the match instead of just doing the whole awkward thing they were doing.
See, Juan, you actually sent out, I believe it was you sent out a tweet, which, we tweet during the pay-per-views. Follow us at ByteThatCast. You tweeted during the pay-per-view, during that match, that I think one of the things that really hurt the crowd reaction for that match was the fact that the primary build-up for that match was on SmackDown. And I think you were pretty much on the button on that, because the crowd just did not care. And then, like you're saying, they're just going right into rest holds and whatnot. You gotta kind of get a sense for the crowd. And when you feel like you're losing them, you should probably do something to get them back. And that's something the veterans do. And that's something you see John Cena do a lot. So I'll give him credit there. So yeah, exactly. I think those were the two main problems, is just not reading the crowd and then the lack of build-up on Raw.
But let's talk about positives for a moment here. Titus O'Neil's theme. Eh?
I mean, that thing's amazing. I think we can agree on that.
It fits him.
Exactly, but
wait a minute. Was that the first time he's used that theme? Like, is there...
No.
A lineage now of amazing themes debuting at the Elimination Chamber? Because last year was Jack Swagger's. Now there's this.
No, because he came out with an instrumental a couple weeks ago, and then I believe it was on SmackDown. He came out with the theme he has on now.
But that counts.
Yeah, crap. Exactly.
Well, I tried.
But basically, I think it was a combination of, the whole SmackDown thing, and the issue is that Primetime Players had it made on the GBL and Cole show, on WWE.com and everywhere else but TV, because they just completely kill them off. And just having that, and then you need to have one guy to put the other guy over. And when neither guy is over with the crowd, neither guy has a connection, how do you expect to either get booed or cheered when people just have no clue who the hell you are?
To go back to that JBL and Cole show point, I don't really think that's like... how can I explain this? Bad News Barrett is originally from the JBL and Cole show, right? So stuff like that, like jokes from there can work on national TV. I just think that somewhere along the lines, the primetime players, they lost something. Don't know what it is, but it was something.
I think TV time is the answer you were looking for.
Maybe.
Basically, when they started this whole breakup storyline, they hadn't been on TV for a while. They hadn't been relevant for quite some time. And then when you add this breakup angle, how are we supposed to care? Maybe if the Usos had broken up at this point, people would actually care because they've been sort of that young tag team that's been on TV consistently. But primetime players, they were sort of in the spotlight for a very brief amount of time, and then they just took it away. And then they realize they want to push Titus for a singles run, so they got to do the breakup angle, and there's really nothing you can do. I mean, they want to push Titus, so they figure they just do the storyline anyway. I think they pretty much knew they were getting into with this. So, what can you do?
Just a quick question about this feud right now. Do you see this going anywhere for either guy, or as we've mentioned, do we see them going the crime tear route, which is that it goes nowhere?
I think they definitely see something in Titus. So I really feel bad for Darren Young. So this is going to be all about Titus O'Neil. And I think that's why they're breaking them up, is because, the guy's not getting any younger, so they want to push him now.
So what exactly is that thing you think they see in Titus? Like, where does Titus O'Neil go on the card from here? Because believe me, I want to see him succeed. I love Titus O'Neil, but I can't think of a place where that would be in the current roster.
IC title, fight Big E.
Yeah, I actually see a pretty good contender with Big E, especially because I think Big E needs somebody that's very charismatic to go against. Because when you look at Big E's Instagram, which if you haven't, please go check that out. It's amazing. It's like WWE Big E or something like that. Or check out his Twitter. It probably links it somewhere there. That guy has never been seen on TV. And I'm like, what the hell? You have a face character who is charismatic as hell, but then you take him on TV and he's not like that. So pair him up against Titus. Man, you got gold written all over that.
Mm-hmm. That's actually an interesting point, because there used to be that Big E on TV. Like back when he first debuted and he was with Ziggler, he was charismatic as hell. He was doing that weird, like, there's that famous interview where he's doing like the reporter was like, oh yes, it's Big E Langston, see? And then that just kind of disappeared. So I wonder if like creative or something like that told him like, you need to stop that and play the big guy. And that's why he feels like weird or like seems weird and awkward when he's cutting promos now, because he's not being the character that like he feels natural being. He's trying to be somebody that creative wants him to be.
This actually reminds me, and I'll be very brief with this because this could go on a whole nother tangent, but listening to John Cena recently on Stone Cold's podcast, he talked about one of the most interesting points he made was that he feels a lot of people who work there, superstars, feel like they're walking on eggshells and they're afraid to try anything new because everyone's so afraid of getting fired. So that may be a contributing factor to why we don't see that real Big E Langston. Sorry, minus the Langston. That real Big E on TV. So,
Big E TV.
Just an interesting point. Something to think about.
I'm just going to make a note of your note. Even though I agree with that, I think it's easier said than done when your name is John Cena and you don't need to work for the rest of your life. So when you see that type of thing, it's easy to say, Vince is reproachable or pitch an idea because maybe you get a guy like Dolph Ziggler that does that. But let's go another route. Let's go to another guy whose character has worked. Probably the most hype match of the card, and it actually wasn't the main event. I am, of course, talking about the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan taking on The Shield, Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns. Now, holy shit. Okay, my favorite match last year was CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar because that match had total nonstop action. There wasn't a dull moment there. Now, if there was a match that can match that this year, I think we've already seen it.
Totally. That match was a giant adrenaline rush from start to finish. you know you have something beautiful when the crowd is chanting, "This is awesome," before like anything even happens. They're just standing in the ring and everybody's going nuts chanting, "This is awesome." And like you said, it was just total nonstop action and adrenaline rush the whole time. They got everything they needed to do. Dean Ambrose disappeared into the abyss. It was a fun match.
Something tells me this isn't even the final resolution either. I mean, overall, top to bottom, just great match. Like you said, when the crowd's chanting before it even starts, and I loved how they were split between the factions. It was just ridiculous. Like that whole ending sequence, like everybody ended up coming out looking great. And as I thought, the Shields would be sort of playing the face role. And I mean, seriously, Seth Rollins really stood out in this match. I think he impressed a lot of people. Flipping out of that German suplex, that was just awesome. And even seeing, I think it was Luke Harper just dive out of the ring. Just everyone went all out, and it 100% delivered.
Mm-hmm. It really was a true relic of a match. And if there's anywhere in a wrestling textbook on how to properly build up a match, I think this whole feud would be a great example of that.
The best part is they didn't even need to be locked down inside the Elimination Chamber. They just had a normal 6-man match, and every single guy, we talked about it before Raw, every single guy had a character development. Dean Ambrose, we're progressively seeing him become angrier, and it was kind of cool because, at least for me, I was thinking, okay, so this is going to be the match where, you know, it's very obvious we're going to split up on Raw or in WrestleMania or whatever, but no. It was kind of like, let's put our differences aside and have a hell of a freaking match.
You know, all in all, I hope these guys end up making a fortune from this match, and it tends to, I hope it's immortal at the end of the day. I hope it's immortal.
I really just think both these teams after that match are just bound for glory.
Agreed.
I mean, I guess you could say that match just left an impact.
And I got to bring up a guy that's had a black rain cloud ever since his return at the Royal Rumble. I am, of course, talking about Batista. People were supposed to love him. You know, Batista, pretty good guy, huh? But then he actually comes back, and it's like everyone just freaking hates him. They hate him more than X-Pac, apparently.
BOOtista.
Man, let's talk about that right now, because I don't even think we need to talk about the Alberto Del Rio Batista match as much as we need to talk about the crowd and Batista's actual reaction to that during the match. Were you shocked by that?
Well, I think there is something to be said about the actual match itself and how Batista's supposed to be this menacing animal that's on a frickin' collision course with WrestleMania 30. But he only has about 2 minutes worth of offense in the match, and he's gassed the entire time. Like, that's a serious issue. This is half of our WrestleMania main event this year, and he can barely work like an 8-minute match without being completely gassed. That's a problem, guys.
Without really jumping into Raw, I think his Raw performance was horribly worse. I mean, we were talking that on Raw he had no freaking time to wrestle, and the guy couldn't even talk during his promo with Randy. But going back to this match, it was interesting to me because it was so obvious that people were hating on him that the guy just had to look at the crowd and react to it. Like, you know, when he was going to do the whole Ultimate Warrior thing on the ropes, he sort of saw the crowd, how they were, he was just like, screw it, you guys don't deserve that. So it was interesting to see how they've had to pretty much. So it's interesting to see how Del Rio was both the heel and the face, but the people just hated that whole thing because Del Rio people have shit on for quite some time. Now you got Batista, who, I mean, you brought up,
including
Keith,
us.
This is how our WrestleMania main event. It's not this whole thing like, hey, Batista's back and hey, let's wish him a good career. This is the guy that people are gonna watch at the end of the show.
You know, think about it. If Batista never won the Royal Rumble, everyone would be cheering him because everyone was so excited for him to come back all before he won the Rumble. And then as soon as he won, it's just like everybody turned on him because it was an insult. And we've talked about before how that was an insult. And I'm really happy to see that this is carrying on and that people are still crapping all over him because the crowd is making a statement. This isn't what we want to see at WrestleMania.
Okay, I realize this is probably gonna be a very hot topic. Now we got one more chamber match, so I think let's actually make a compromise. Let's jump this match, talk about chamber, do tweet of the week, and let's talk about Batista, because between this and what happened on Raw, I think there's a lot of stuff we can talk about Batista that's just wrong and in no way right. Can we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. Elimination Chamber.
All right.
So maybe Cesaro can become champion. Maybe freaking Daniel Bryan can win the championship before WrestleMania. We don't know what's going to happen, except we do. So once again, okay. Breaking news, guys. I think somebody got screwed in the main event again for the past 7 months.
Who?
Ever since SummerSlam, which happened last summer.
In the WWE? Never.
Really? Yes.
Was it Randy Orton? Who was it?
It was the guy that's apparently revolutionizing wrestling right now. Yet for some reason, freaking WWE doesn't want to give him the ball. I think I got a rant going. You want me to try?
Flash. I'm not even good enough to call that Flash.
Relic is killer spelled backwards.
It's good. It's pretty good.
Rant mode initiated.
Okay, WWE, what the hell? I mean, I've tried to read articles where freaking guys go, hey, you know what, slow burn, we gotta think about the future. But it has been since freaking SummerSlam now. And I mean, it's not even the whole fact that Daniel Bryan didn't win the match or not, is that you continually keep screwing him out of the championship opportunity. And yeah, I get it, it's part of the character. But then what happened at freaking Raw is a goddamn travesty. It's the whole combination of everything you're doing. You're just pissing the fans off. And if it was a guy that was maybe just a little bit over, he was selling a little bit of merchandise, or honestly, if it was CM Punk, because Daniel Bryan is way more over than Punk was ever, even after the Summer of Punk thing, then I would understand that. But you have something so organic that I don't think you're going to get this again in the next decade. So what do? You freaking screw out the people out of an amazing opportunity. Daniel Bryan went from the 18 seconds of doom in WrestleMania over to now what? Freaking nothing. Because unless he has a WWE World Heavyweight Championship opportunity at WrestleMania, I fail to see how it would make sense for him to be in the show in any capacity. Now, I get it. Some people might go, hey, maybe he should face Triple H because of the whole storyline thing. He's the guy that's been screwing him out. Guess when that should have happened? A freaking Royal Rumble. Because if he went over Bray Wyatt that quickly, if that feud just went away so quickly, why didn't you freaking take that opportunity then to have him face Kane or Triple H, and then you have him face Kane or Triple H, the other guy, on Raw? Guess what? You would have an awesome freaking WrestleMania main event. Everybody's happy. You're building a character. You're making tons of money, and it's best for business. Damn it.
Rant mode disengaged.
So, the chamber.
So, I'd like to add 2 points to your rant. One, the whole, we talked about the slow burn thing and the yes movement and all that stuff. But there's now I'm not sure I'm a fan of the yes movement anymore, because Vince McMahon sent out a tweet earlier this week tweeting about the yes movement. Doesn't that kind of inherently go against everything that the yes movement stands for by Vince McMahon tweeting about it? Like, oh, hey, this guy I'm trying to reach with this big revolution movement that is at the top of the food chain. Oh, hey, he's going to send out a message about it. That's kind of stupid, really. And number 2 is that, the whole Triple H Bryan thing, at this point, it honestly feels like a WrestleMania consolation prize. They had all these plans with Batista and stuff in place, so let's just kind of put Bryan in this match. Maybe hope if he doesn't go over Triple H, that's a whole other freaking conversation that we won't even get into right now, but I think it just feels like a consolation prize. Rant edition ended.
And my points on this, one, I'm not mad about Bryan losing at the Chamber, and I know you said that because it wasn't the right time. It would have been weird if he actually won at the Chamber. So that wasn't the right time. And now the whole facing Triple H thing, I think it's good in a way. one, if he wins, which we know Triple H's track record, so that's up in the air. But also people are talking maybe the possibility that if he wins, he gets to go into the main event. That's wishful thinking, but I think that would be awesome. And that would also prevent the crowd from taking a steaming diarrhea dump on the WWE World Heavyweight title match at WrestleMania. Do they really want that? Do they really want the whole crowd just completely shitting on it? So they have to ask themselves that. And if they could solve it in 1 second, put Daniel Bryan in there.
And at least for me, I do want to clarify. I'm not upset that Daniel Bryan didn't win the title at the Chamber. I think that would have been terrible. But the way the match ended, it's just like, we get it. You were adding salt to the wound, but this has been going on for freaking months, man. Just do something different at this point. I get it. Repetition is a big part of wrestling, and they're trying to make Randy Orton a heel. There's a problem. And I think Stone Cold, man, that podcast was revolutionary. Stone Cold brought it up in his podcast. It's not the same as people, or it was Stone Cold or Cena. It's not the same as people chanting "You suck" to you as it is about them chanting about another guy. Like when they chant about, Randy Savage or something. When you have a guy that's that over as Bryan, they don't chant "You suck" to Randy Orton. They just chant yes. They just care about that other guy, not Randy.
Mm-hmm. Because they're trying to show how unover Randy Orton is by supporting Bryan. Like, they're trying to just kind of like overstep him on the card. But let's think about all the possible outcomes for a second here. Like, yeah, so it sucks that Bryan's lost the Elimination Chamber. Ryan, you said that it wouldn't make sense for Bryan to win the Chamber right now, and I agree with that. But what would happen if Daniel Bryan just wasn't in the Elimination Chamber at all? I think there would still be a huge firestorm surrounding the whole thing. So they're kind of in like a no matter what they do, they lose type of situation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't have a problem with the Chamber, and I'm not ready to freak out just yet about WrestleMania like everybody else is. There's still plenty of weeks. I didn't really mind that much about the whole screwjob thing. I'm pretty used to it by now, and also I like the fact that it's like they made an excuse for Bryan didn't win instead of like it looked like he could have legitimately done it. So they're actually making him look good in that right, even if it is pissing people off with a to be continued ending as they always like to do. But they actually were protecting him if you think about it. So I'm completely okay with it.
So just quick thoughts about the Chamber match itself. So Christian randomly turned heel. We got a pretty decent spot between Christian and Sheamus. Sheamus was actually the first guy eliminated in the match. I think we'd all expected Christian to be that guy. So removing Bryan, removing Bryan for the match itself, were you pretty happy with the match quality?
I thought it was a great Elimination Chamber match. I think they went a little too far into the well with the whole throwing somebody through the Lexan pod thing, because I think they did that 3 or 4 times. But other than that, it was a great match. It's not that often you see an Elimination Chamber match, all 6 people still in the match at the same time. And I thought that added a lot to the match because it was very fast paced because of it. And there was just awesome spot after awesome spot after awesome spot. Nobody really looked weak in that match. Christian looked great. Cesaro looked great. Sheamus looked great. There was a spot where for a second I thought that Sheamus was going to eliminate Randy Orton, with that bro kick through the pod type thing. I thought that he was going to throw Orton in the ring and pin him 1, 2, 3, but obviously didn't happen. But it was a great match.
Yeah, definitely better than last year's Chamber match, without a doubt. I did like that spot too, where Randy was hiding in the pod, and especially liked how everyone called him a pussy when he did that. So definitely great match. I think Shield and the Wides just really blew the show away. So the Chamber seemed a little underwhelming in comparison, but it was still, it was not a letdown at all. I thought it was still great.
Yeah, overall, I think everybody can agree the tag team match stole the show. It's a match with no championship, just great freaking build-up. Chamber match is great, so overall, Elimination Chamber probably will be one of the best pay-per-views this year so far, arguably. that's going to happen. Something that could be argued is whether or not we should continue.
Tweet of the week. Tweet of the week.
Oh, that's hurtful. That's really, really hurtful. That's right, Juan. It's time for everybody's favorite segment. Whether you love it or you hate it, they love it. And they probably hate it too. So it's Tweet of the Week time. And this week's Tweet of the Week is brought to you by Mr. David Shoemaker at AKA The Masked Man. Now we're kind of going to go into the future a little bit here and talk about Raw, but here's the Tweet of the Week. Sources confirm that Cena blew out his ACL and MCL and dislocated his kneecap. His estimated recovery time is 45 minutes.
Tweet of the week. Tweet of the week.
And remember, folks, if you want to have something read by Keith's glorious, sexalicious voice, send us a tweet over at Byte.cast. That is Byte with a Y. If it's retweeted or favorited or something, or it's just funny, it makes us smile when we just finish crying. It could just be the tweet of the week.
And that happens more than you probably think, by the way.
Way too much. Keith just cried for 5 hours before the show because of what happened right now. You know what? We are going to talk, as promised, about the whole Batista thing, because I know this is going to take a little bit of time. We are going to talk about the WWE Network, but first, this. Now, Batista, I want to get down to first the wrestler. What the hell happened? Batista's had a lot of great matches against Triple H, The Undertaker. This is all, of course, before coming back. But now, look at his performance in the Chamber. His performance on Raw. I don't know if the guy just stopped doing cardio or something, or I don't know what his diet is, but he seems to be in the worst shape. The guy was sweating bullets through the whole thing.
Well, apparently they don't offer cardio in the Pit of Danger because Batista can barely go 5 minutes now. It's kind of ridiculous. And they weren't even very taxing matches. There was a spot at the Elimination Chamber where they do the whole, heel does the clothesline and then the face immediately gets up and that goes over 3 times, except with Batista, it was clothesline. Now we're going to sit here for about 30 seconds. Okay, Batista got up, clothesline him again, and it just went on for way too long. So they need to rethink their workout plans in the Pit of Danger. Yeah.
No, one thing that looked really bad on Raw in particular were his suplexes. Notice how he did a superplex and he did a normal suplex, and in both, he just let go of Del Rio. And it wasn't a style. You could tell the sloppiness. He did a power slam at one point. The whole thing. You got to think to yourself, how do you use the company? Say you own the company, Keith. You are Vince McMahon. How do you look at this guy and go, oh, he's my main event. People are going to love it.
Mm-hmm. I think
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Well, that could be part of it, but whenever somebody comes back, they always well, okay, if you say so there, sweetheart. But every time somebody comes back, the commentators kind of throw on this angle about ring rust. Oh, maybe he's not going to be able to do this because of ring rust. Maybe he's not going to be able to be what he used to be. I think Batista is an example of ring rust is a real thing. He's probably hadn't done a lot of wrestling or training for wrestling since before he came back. And this is the result. He can barely go. The Rock could go longer than Batista could go. And that's saying something because The Rock was basically dying after every one of his matches when he came back last year.
And it's kind of funny because when you look at his body type, he seems to be in better shape. He's not as big as his previous run, which would sort of tell you. I mean, I even brought that up. Is he going to be more agile or something faster? But there's not one good thing I can honestly say about his wrestling right now.
Well, let's not forget that the fact that the dude's just straight up old.
Yeah.
True. He's not a young dude. He is the same age as Triple H. So keep that in mind. Well, maybe that's a testament to Triple H, but, he's just never stopped. So that's probably why he can still go. But, yeah, the guy's getting old. He's been out of the ring for how many years? Almost 4 years or something like that?
More or less.
So it's just... I'm hoping if he is going to be in the WrestleMania main event that he is in tip-top shape by then. But maybe I'm just, thinking wishfully. So we'll see.
Would you guys think about his performance on Raw? Not the wrestling, but the character. Because, I mean, everything from the commentary to the way he was coming out, the BOOtista signs, he was completely acknowledging that.
I think at this point they pretty much have to. I mean, you get to a point where you really can't ignore it and you realize that this is the reaction you're going to get town to town. One quick point. They mentioned that he's going to speak his mind on SmackDown this Friday. Sorry, I'm living 10 years in the past right now. So this Friday, he's going to speak his mind. I was just reading on Squared Circle, and someone pointed out, it's interesting they're doing it on SmackDown, where they can pipe in all the crowd noise and have it go exactly how they want it to, as opposed to doing it on Raw. So I don't think we're really going to get too much out of that because of that.
I think you're right that this is the direction they have to go with Batista. He's still supposed to be the face for the main event of WrestleMania 30. Like, basically, the main event of WrestleMania 30 doesn't have a good guy. You have the heel, who everybody's supposed to hate, in Randy Orton, and then you just have everybody, or somebody that everybody hates in Batista. Who are people supposed to cheer for?
WWE's in a really tough spot. JR wrote a blog post following Raw, I believe it was, because he also talked about the Royal Rumble, which is basically stating, as Ryan talked about, Batista's in a tough spot, not because people like him or hate him. It's because everybody just loves Bryan so goddamn much that they just don't want to see
more.
Exactly. It could be any guy. You could have Kurt Angle come back. You could have any guy come back. We are talking about someone that's so over that everybody else is just going to be automatically hated. So that SmackDown thing really does concern me because they can pipe that in. He can say anything he wants. And that promo on Raw with Randy, that to be the most awkward thing I've listened to in quite some time because it was a John Cena promo. That was the typical John Cena promo where when the people are booing him, he acknowledges that they're booing him, so he gets booed more. Heel comes out, and then he sort of goes neutral, but ends up saying something good to get cheered, except with Batista, it just got worse.
Yeah, what was that weird line that Dave said, like, I love this place because they have a voice, but I have a voice too. Like, that's basically this era's basketballs don't hold grudges. So, yeah.
And he also said,
Good luck, Dave.
if they boo me, I boo them back. So what do you expect to happen after that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just something that's way too forced. Like, I do want to bring up another quick thing about Raw. They just felt way too forced. And overall, I do want to get your quick impressions of Raw overall, considering it was supposed to be the biggest Raw all year, if not all time. I do want to talk about specifically a bubbly personality coming over from NXT. I am, of course, talking about the Australian known as Emma, who now has her theme music from NXT. She's got the bubbles. And is it just me, Ryan? I know you also watch NXT every now and then, but I know, Ryan, you've watched Emma pretty much since she debuted in NXT. There's something horrible happening here because I'm supposed to love Emma, but I freaking can't stand her on Raw. Like, I can't. I tried. I'm like, that's what happens on NXT, but it seems really forced compared to NXT, which seemed kind of natural the way she does things. I don't know.
Would you say it was natural as can be? I don't know. I'm thinking it's actually not that bad because I was actually okay with how everything went this week because the commentary was trying to explain that she's a little klutzy, and even the crowd was doing the dance a little bit. It might eventually catch on. This was actually a good sign for me. So maybe we just are on opposite ends of the spectrum, but hey, we can't agree on everything. I was totally okay with it. I like they brought in the bubbles. I like that she came out to her theme. I think the crowd will eventually get it. It's going to be awkward, but I mean, it works. That's her character anyway.
You don't think we're going to get a Batista or a Rocky Maivia type thing? And I love how I'm bringing up Emma and comparing The Rock. But the whole thing where if you're such a face, people are going to boo you. Because it's just way too much. Although, like you said, the crowd reacted to it, so maybe it's just my personal taste.
See, this is where I kind of think Emma falls flat. Because in NXT, she was one of a kind. She was Emma, right? But in the WWE, they already have all that weird stuff. Like, they have Santino and El Torito playing with a frickin' Lego playset every week and just a bunch of those weird things like that. So she just kind of falls in with that category of people that Ron Simmons comes and says damn to once a year.
I think like I said, people will get her character eventually. Give it a little bit of time. I know as internet wrestling fans, we get very impatient and we're like, no, it's going to be this way. It's going to be that way. Let's all, take a breath. Let's give it a few weeks. You know what? If you want to tell me in 3 months that it's not working, I'll listen. But she's still very, very new. So I'm willing to give it some time.
I will make a note of that, sir. It is February. In 3 months, we will have this report if I remember that. That being said, I don't have my red, white, and blue shirt or something. But we got to jump all the way to beginning of Raw because let me tell you something, brother. I sound like Undertaker and Hulk Hogan, dude. And the WWE Universe is launching the WWE Universe Network Universe, brother. Forget your lines, brother. That's never. Hey guys, that's not something new,
guys.
What?
I have a surprise for you. Are you ready for this?
Oh God, you're pulling it out.
It's time for a bonus. That's right. It's so nice that we have to do it twice this week. And this tweet is brought to you by @FullSexWithAWoman. That's all one word. We keep that in mind. And this is the bonus tweet of the week.
It's actually a Reddit post.
All right. It's a Reddit post of the week. See? Yeah, fuck you. And this is this week's tweet of the week. Hulk botching in a promo is like putting on an old sweater. It's almost comforting.
What was the Twitter handle?
It was a
full
Reddit
sex with
username.
a woman. Shut up. It was full sex with a woman.
Was that you, Ryan?
No, Ryan having full sex with a woman.
That is a concept that is completely unfamiliar to me.
Oh. Ryan's crying right now. See, there goes the whole crying thing. But I do really just want to touch up on the Hulkster. He's back. He actually had just the one appearance on Raw, which is pretty surprising. But he came out to launch, I don't know if it was the universe or the network. People kind of fell flat after a while because they realized he's just really messing up his lines really badly. But were you happy to see the Hulkster, Hulkamania running wild?
I gotta think. Do you think for the beginning of Raw that he was the right guy at the wrong time at the right? Wait, hold on. Let me try that one more time.
All right.
Do you think he was the right guy at the right? No. It was good. The crowd. The crowd. I don't think was that great at Raw this week, but they also got kind of a shit show. We were expecting this awesome Raw that was jam packed, and it felt so normal. They actually reacted good to Hogan despite his screw ups. That was nice, but overall, this show was a complete mess to me. I think everyone was expecting this to be one of the best Raws of all time, and it was totally not that.
Yeah, and that's not to say it was a bad show, because I really don't think it was a bad show. But consider the circumstances, the launch of the WWE Network, everything that was going on. Keith, you brought up a pretty good point, which was related to the WWE Network. What was that?
Yeah.
Do you remember
that it's? If I think I know what you're referencing, is it the fact that it's hell to actually watch the WWE Network when you actually get it working? Now, given I'm in Canada, so I have an extra step that if you're in Canada and you need to know about, well, you can send me a message so the FCC can't come after me for it being on this podcast. But once you actually get it going, it's really weird. So they've been hyping the hell out of this whole free trial for the WWE Network, but you only get the trial after you sign up. So you have to put your PayPal stuff in, or your credit card, or whatever you decide to use, and then you get access to the WWE Network. So you have to have your information in before, I could get it working. Did the same thing happen to you guys, or?
Well, my experience was that on the free trial, all I did was make the account, and I just didn't have the 24/7 player going. But I could watch everything else. It wasn't until I actually bought the thing that the 24 media, whatever live media streaming thing was actually going. So I could actually get into all the rest of the content.
I just want to point out that was in no way the point I thought you were going to make, Keith. It was kind of related. Yeah.
What was that like, point?
The point was that by the WWE launching, the WWE Network Universe, launching at 9 a.m. in the morning, there was no hype to Raw. Because even me, I remember, I remember before Raw started, I was like, I want to watch Raw, but it's the network. I have a new toy I want to play with. So it was sort of like, I want to watch Raw, but I want there to be commercial breaks so I can watch that other thing.
Well, now that this curveball has not been thrown on me, yeah, totally. Because even when John Cena was on stage originally, they said that the network was going to launch the second that Raw ended. That didn't happen. It launched in the morning. So you could imagine during the whole thing, like, this is going to be it. This, like, we're about to launch the network. Get ready. Raw doesn't have to stop right now. Big hype. Undertaker hype. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Well, no, not so much.
Yeah, and I do want to point out to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast, where we are actually going to talk about our experience with the content from the network, because obviously on day one, for the most part, the experience didn't really work all that well. A lot of the stuff said media not available or something. I installed it on my tablet. I watched it on my PS3. I watched it on the web. I know you guys also installed it in a couple different places. So check that out. But overall, I think that the WWE Network is probably bigger than anybody expected, because there was just a big overload, and that's probably why they did it in the morning. So it sort of, it faded away as Raw started, but I think it bit them in the ass. And we also saw the pre and post show, so we're going to talk about that on the YouTube channel. Now, for the last thing that I do want to bring up on Raw, head over to the main event. Sadly for me, I gotta say, I was a little let down, because even though I'm looking forward to the match, it's kind of like, really, Undertaker's confirmed to appear, Brock Lesnar's confirmed to appear, there's only one segment left. I wonder what's gonna happen. I have no idea. Taker and Brock? What? I never expected that. So, did you guys share that sort of experience?
100% yes. It was a cool little segment, but there was no surprise element to it, and it just came off as expected. I mean, I appreciated the nice signing of the contract by doing a signature move through the table. So that was a nice little touch, and the whole pen to the hand thing. It was good, but like you said, no surprise to it. Everything was completely expected. We've known that this match is going to happen for a year now.
Mm-hmm. The moment that Brock Lesnar wasn't in the Elimination Chamber, I think it was completely obvious that he was going to fight The Undertaker. But, guys, The Undertaker's getting old. Like, it's really apparent this year. He looks old, and it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, I think overall he looks a lot smaller. Like, he's got no muscle. His muscle tone is a lot smaller now. So it's a shame, But I think it's going to be a great match. And we were talking about Batista being gassed out. I think Undertaker's the prime example of it doesn't matter how old you is, as long as, you keep yourself in tip-top shape. Obviously, every year we hear Undertaker can barely walk backstage. He's limping or something. He's in a lot of pain. So that's probably going to happen, especially with Brock. But we're going to get that match.
And to be fair, The Undertaker and Santa Claus have the exact same schedule. So it's probably a little easier to keep yourself in shape that way.
And The Undertaker was looking like Santa Claus before he dyed that goatee back.
That's true. By the way, do you guys think that, The Undertaker kind of works like the groundhog from Groundhog Day? So The Undertaker wakes up one morning, he sees his shadow, and then we know it's 6 weeks till WrestleMania now.
Well said. Did you come up with that on your own?
I will confirm nor deny that. I found it somewhere on the internet.
So it was on Reddit, probably is what you're saying.
Can we talk about John Cena and what happened?
Let's talk about it.
All right. I have your permission. Okay, so that was an interesting angle where Cena got hurt.
The scenes, guys.
And apparently...
It's a workshop. We get
apparently
and beaten.
What the fuck? All right. Apparently, Cena's injury is a work, even though on TV it came across as very real because of the nature in which it happened. It seemed like it was just a freak accident that Cena hurt his leg. You saw the Wyatt family backed off while they were beating him down. Then they kind of came in and did their one little spot to knock him down. And then he gets carried out on a stretcher. Now we're getting all these reports that Cena isn't actually injured. Someone in the crowd apparently said that the stretcher was already there on the side of the stage before the segment even started. So all signs point to it being a work. So my question to you guys is this not a perfect example of kayfabe 2.0 where this is meant to deceive us? They did everything they could to make this look like it was a legitimate injury instead of a worked injury. What do you guys think about the whole situation?
It's the same reason we're getting Total Divas Season 2 is the same reason this happened. If it is a kayfabe segment, it makes sense because we keep talking, we're in the reality era, we got Total Divas, we got all these things that are quote-unquote real, so why not work with that? Personally, I think it's cool because it gives you that unexpected element because it's not traditional. You didn't expect that to happen. We talked about the fact that it was just weird how the Wyatt family just completely backed off at a random point. Now, will that make the match more important for me? No, I don't really care about Bray Wyatt, John Cena. I think it's just it needs more build-up. No, I think it's gonna be a great match. That's the thing. It's like it's gonna be a great match. But WrestleMania, we are talking about WrestleMania here, not SummerSlam, not Royal Rumble or something. For WrestleMania's sake, given the time that this has been built up, nah.
By the way, quick thing on this match at WrestleMania. I'm putting it out there. Whoever is going to WrestleMania 30, please make this sign for the Bray Wyatt John Cena match. Can someone please make a sign that says, if Cena wins, we Wyatt? That is all.
Ooh.
All right, that joke was terrible. It is time to end the show. But before you go, we've got just a few things to tell you. Remember to follow us on Twitter at ByteThatCast. That's Byte That with the Y. We tweet during Raw. We tweet during pay-per-views. And hey, send us a tweet and maybe it's a question for the show or just, to tell us how we're doing. We appreciate all the feedback. And also, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. We've got we just put up an ROH review. We're going to be putting up our WWE Network review. It might even be up there right now by the time you're listening to this. We also are going to be putting up an NXT Arrival review in the coming days after that airs, so make sure to check that out. That's all part of our WrestleMania overload, which is we're bringing you all this content during WrestleMania season. We're going to give you reviews on past WrestleManias, our top WrestleMania moments, and more things like that, all in the coming weeks leading up to WrestleMania, so make sure you're checking that out. And also, hey, if you want to send us an email, a longer question, or some more feedback, that's bytethatcast@gmail.com. Don't forget that we're also on iTunes and Stitcher. Just search Byte That. That's all the information I got for you now. I am so ready to leave after this because I've recorded this about 60 times, just so you need to know. We will see you later.